It's now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. It's the only daily boxing talk show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C Show. Good morning, good day, good evening, whenever you're watching, whenever you're listening. I hope you're doing okay today. Today's show is being brought to us in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant, located on beautiful St. Simon's Island in Georgia. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com, or give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Also, today's show is being brought to us by, in part, let me make sure I make that perfectly clear, in part by the Holiday Inn Express, or any other Holiday Inn property. You want to save some money, you can get the Billy C discount. Just visit our website, BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the banner. It'll give you a toll-free number to access. So make sure you do that. And today's show is being brought to us in part by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Men on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold. And you can get a copy of this book right now by visiting Barnes & Noble or Amazon.com. Find out why I'm so adamant about getting Tom Molyneux's story told. Big news today, somewhat, I guess. First of all, we're expecting a guest today. My man Randy Gordon is scheduled to join us, former New York State Athletic Commissioner. He was a former Ring magazine editor. He's a New York State Boxing Hall of Famer. Been around the business for a long time. We're going to get him in about a half hour. But the big news today that happened yesterday, apparently there's been an offer made to Anthony Joshua from Deontay Wilder for $50 million. $50 million to come and fight Deontay Wilder. Now, there's a catch. There's a catch. There's always a catch, right? The catch is that Team Joshua, now they made this offer late yesterday afternoon, but the catch is that they have to give them an answer by today, which is kind of a joke. Let me. First of all, I hope that it's true, and I hope that it happens, okay? This is actually the very first time that we've ever heard a legitimate counteroffer. And when I say legit, I'm talking about them, meaning Team Wilder, actually thinking that they're going to promote the fight and do what they got to do, okay? Every other time, it's been Team AJ, Team Eddie Hearn, that was expected to come up with a counteroffer. Now, Deontay Wilder has not said a word. This is the first time he said anything since the initial offer to fight Anthony Joshua and get a two-fight deal was laid on the table about 2 weeks ago. We haven't heard one thing from Deontay Wilder until yesterday. Here's what happened. Apparently, and it's been confirmed, Deontay Wilder emailed Anthony Joshua's promoter, Eddie Hearn, in addition to his trainer and in addition to Anthony Joshua himself, making this offer. He says, and this is wild, it said, Anthony, get your man Eddie and his father Barry to check their emails. We got something special for you. By the way, all the money's in the bag, so I expect you're a man of your word. Now, this is a following up after the Parker fight. Anthony Joshua had said publicly, I'll take $50 million up front. If that's the case, Wilder's team, bring me $50 million up front and we'll take the fight. Which is a big, big amount of money, of course. Now, Shelley Finkel was interviewed yesterday and confirmed. Here's the deal. Shelley Finkel, who is one of the managers of Deontay Wilder, along with Al Heyman, said that the offer was made. It's $50 million against 50% of the revenue of the event, meaning that Anthony Joshua would make no less than that figure of $50 million and could possibly make more. If the fight, they're basing the fight on generating at least $100 million, but if it generates more, then, of course, Anthony Joshua makes more. If it lost money, if it didn't make $50 million, Anthony Joshua still gets his $50 million up front. Now, Finkel made a quote, and he said, it's a giant number, but it's also a giant fight. It has to be the next fight for each of them. No rematch clause, and it has to be for all the belts. We asked them to send us the acceptance of this contract by the end of Thursday, by the end of today. And they said, Anthony Joshua previously asked for $50 million against 50%. We're giving it to him. They probably don't believe it's this big of an offer, but it's an unbelievable offer. I hope they accept. Deontay Wilder is thrilled, and he believes Joshua will take it. This obviously was made as a counteroffer to the deal that Eddie Hearn laid out. Now, Eddie Hearn confirmed that they indeed got the offer. He has confirmed that they did receive the email and that it was for $50 million. He says to me, and this is Eddie Hearn now, he says, to me, this looks like a PR move, but it's something that we're obviously going to take seriously. I'll be asking for a contract because they've got an email. He says, but we didn't get a contract. He says, I'll be asking for a contract and also some answers to some important questions like where's it going to be? He says this is Eddie Hearn now. He says there's no second fight in the offer. That's not the end of the day. He says that's not the end of the world if this deal is made. There are obviously other things that have to be addressed. Like Joshua has a number of existing broadcast deals in multiple territories, although he's a 100% free agent in the United States. Also, the offer comes from Deontay Wilder himself, and with all due respect, he doesn't have $50 million, so we need to know where this money's coming from. We want to do the fight in the UK, but if we get an acceptable and secure offer, we'll certainly look at it and take it seriously. They said we had to accept by today, meaning, he said this yesterday. He says we have to accept by Thursday, which is today, which is ridiculous when we have these kinds of questions that need to be answered. But we do have a meeting scheduled for Friday, and we'll go through this offer. I'd like to see a contract and where the money's coming from. And the location of the fight is also important. We don't have a problem doing it in America, even though we'd like to do the first fight in the UK. I don't know what to think of it. I think that, personally, I think that there's no way that that team Deontay Wilder will be able to pay that kind of money. Eddie Hearn also said, if they're looking at, getting this fight signed, sealed, delivered, and then trying to raise the money, he said that's not going to work. He says you got to have the money first, which is true. The other thing, let me explain from a business perspective of boxing and how it works. When you make an offer to someone, and it's clearly a legitimate offer. Then what happens is things have to be approved. I mean, the bottom line is dates and commissions have to approve fights. They don't just make an offer and say, yeah, we're going to fight. I mean, you got to have a date. You got to have something. Is it a PR move? I don't know. I think that in the real world, especially when you're talking about that kind of money, the truth of the matter is don't you need to have some of your ducks in a row? I mean, if you're making an offer for $50 million, somebody offers me $50 million. I clearly would like to see where the fight's going to be and all of that stuff. I just I don't get it. I mean, the whole issue is if you're going to make an offer of $50 million, you got to have some substantial information in that offer. A location would be nice. A projected date would be nice. They gave a range of dates, but they didn't do anything else. I don't know. I don't know what to think. Today is Super Chat Thursday, which means that we are opening up the Super Chat in the chat room on the YouTube side, and anybody that sends us a Super Chat, we will give your comments on this topic right there. So you got to get involved with the conversation. We're scheduled to have my man Randy Gordon join us a little bit later. I see that he's watching on the Facebook stream, and I just want to remind you, Randy, make sure you turn on your Skype settings. I forgot to tell him yesterday when we did that, so I want to make sure that he knows about that. But anyway, if you have some questions, comments, concerns that you want to get through on the show, give us a Super Chat, and we'll hook you right up. Doesn't matter what it is, how much, whatever. Do it. We love that Super Chat feature over on the YouTube chat. So make sure you check that out. But in any event, that's what's happening with Eddie Hearn, with Deontay Wilder, with Anthony Joshua. Allegedly, there's a offer that's been made. So we'll see what happens as time goes on. That's for sure. Obviously, the fight is huge. Obviously, it's a meaningful fight in the sport of boxing, let alone the whole heavyweight division. But truthfully, it is what it is. So we'll see what happens with that. So I'm looking forward to it. So we would think that you would get some substantial information if you're going to be making an offer like that. I would think. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But I would think that if somebody's going to offer $50 million, that there would be some legitimacy attached to it. And for some reason, there seems like there's not. So who knows? What the deal is with that. So we'll have to wait and see as time goes on. But everybody loves to fight, and we will hopefully get some more information. But to give a deadline of today, I've never heard such a more ludicrous thing in my life than to have that laid out and have somebody say, hey, listen, the bottom line is you gotta here's $50 million. You got to make sure that you do it today. No, it doesn't work that way. But it kind of does look like a PR move. You know what's disheartening about this whole situation? The truth of the matter is that the fight is a fight that we all want to see, and the worst part about this is whether you think it's going to be a competitive fight or not. That's neither here nor there, right? That's your opinion. If you think that Deontay Wilder has a legitimate shot, or if Anthony Joshua can't handle Deontay's power, whatever your side of the fence is. My problem with this whole situation is that Deontay Wilder has been pounding his chest, making all these claims that he wants, this fight to take place. He wants it to happen. He says that AJ's ducking him, blah, 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 like all this stuff, right? And then you get this, and it seems so shallow. I had predicted that this fight wasn't going to happen until next year anyway, okay? I predicted that. Then all of a sudden we started seeing some life, seeing that, why it could happen or it couldn't happen. But the truth of the matter is Deontay Wilder has been pounding his chest, and it's all BS to me. I think that the bottom line is that if somebody wants to fight, they make the fight. You know what I mean? What's the thing? Why do Deontay Wilder fans believe everything that the guy says? Here's the situation. Deontay Wilder is being mishandled, the funniest part is when you start listening to guys like Lou DiBella jumping in saying, "Oh, we did it all," on social media. Lou DiBella is a puppet. Lou DiBella is nothing more than a puppet. He's not Wilder's promoter in real life. He may be promoter on record because Al Heyman and Shelley Finkel need somebody to do the actual promotion. But I don't know. What's your thoughts, man? Do you think that this fight and this offer is legit, or is it all BS like most of Deontay Wilder's entire career has been, except for the Luis Ortiz fight? We got the Super Chat open, so give me your thoughts. I'll mention it on air, and we'll go from there. Hey, listen, I'm going to take a short break. When we come back, we got more on this. I got an email. We're scheduled to have Randy Gordon join us a little bit later. Don't go anywhere. We will be back in about 2 minutes.
Billy C will be right back.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
We save a lot of money. It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt. The innovative technology works to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
You know, similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace? Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. I want to give a shout out to all of our affiliates. Too many to name one at a time, but all of our TV and radio affiliates. We're glad to be part of your sports programming. Any additional information anyone may need, if you're watching or listening to this show, just reach out to me, Billy at Talkin' Boxing, TalkinBoxing.com. We are in our very first Super Chat Thursday, which means if you go and watch us on YouTube and hopefully subscribe, you can give us a Super Chat, and we'll get your thoughts, comments, concerns, points, whatever you put on your Super Chat on the show. So we got our first one in. It's from my man Johnston Brown. He says, hey, Billy C., who would be silly enough to pay $50 million up front? In case you're just joining us, we are talking about the offer that was made from Deontay Wilder to Anthony Joshua. Now, this is a direct offer from Deontay Wilder. And the way I took it wasn't that he was going to get $50 million up front, like they were going to hand him $50 million up front. I think the way they meant it was that the fight, he would be guaranteed to get his $50 million. Plus, if the fight generate, and that's based on a revenue generation of $100 million, 50-50 split at $50 million apiece. Now, if the fight generated $150 million, Anthony Joshua would make $75. Here's the problem, and again, in case you're just joining us, I did read, and Eddie Hearn, I mean, here's the bottom line. Deontay Wilder made the offer, not Shelly Finkel. It did not come over in a contract the way Anthony Joshua's offer of $12.5 million came and was delivered to Deontay Wilder. This came as an email, and it came as an email from Deontay Wilder offering $50 million. So Eddie Hearn's point is, hey, first of all, we're very interested in the fight. We want the fight. He said, second of all, you can't make us make a decision by today. This was yesterday, so the decision had to be made by Thursday, which is today, by the end of the day. He says, we already had a meeting set up for Friday, which is tomorrow. We could discuss it then. Show me a contract. He also made the most, I mean, yes, he was looking for a date. He was looking for a location, blah, blah, blah. This was for a one-fight deal, by the way. No rematch clause, which, to me, being involved in the sport as deep as I am, that would be the first red flag. that went up for me. If I was the guy that was the manager of a fighter or an advisor for a fighter, and I got an offer, and my fighter was a world champion. I managed a multi-division world champion in female future Hall of Famer Chevelle Hallback, and we got many contracts for offers and stuff like that. When there was a title involved, especially when it was a title that we held, there was always going to be a rematch clause. No boxer would want, if they're a titleist, or I should say any smart fighter would never take a fight without a rematch clause. And not only do you get a rematch clause for the ability to get another shot at your title, but you guarantee another big payday, win, lose, or draw. So that is the first flag. The second flag is making them try to agree to it so quickly. That's also a sign of a scam. That's a scam. That's like, hey, listen, you want to buy this new Mercedes? I know it's $100,000, but if you give me the money right now, I'll give it to you for $20,000. Or the classic. You're in a parking lot getting out of your car, and this van pulls up. Hey, man, I got a whole bunch of stereo equipment in here. My boss told me to get rid of it. I know it's worth $100, but if you give me 10, I'll give you one. I'll give you a speaker right now. No, it's a joke. It's a joke. You don't do that, especially for this kind of money. I think that what has happened is that Deontay Wilder wanted to get some fuel to ignite his ignorant fans. And a lot of his fans, and I don't mean that for all of them, but a lot of them are. Now, what's going to come back to me, guaranteed, is that we're going to hear that, Deontay Wilder offered him $50 million and he turned it down. He wouldn't take it. He's scared. He doesn't want to fight Wilder. No, you got to put the whole deal. You have to talk about the whole deal. You don't make an offer of $50 million and accept it, and then all of a sudden not be able to get paid. A good example of this recently is Manny Pacquiao with Bob Arum, and them getting all of these offers for Manny Pacquiao to fight in the Middle East. We'll give you this, we'll give you that. And Bob Arum, whether you like him or not, turns around and says, okay, show me the money, basically. Where's the money coming from? And they never came up with any money. And Bob wasn't saying, I want the money now. He was saying, hey, let's see the money in an escrow account. It's the same thing with Wilder. If Deontay Wilder put $50 million in an escrow account and said, here's the money, AJ. Here's $50 million friggin' dollars. It's in this account right here. It's in escrow. You'll get this fight as soon as we step in the ring. This money will be released to you, and then anything over that will be released to you. That's showing that they got money. That's showing that it's a legitimate offer. That's not what happened. He sent them an email himself and says, we want to give you $50 million. And Eddie Hearn asked three simple questions in my opinion. Number one, why isn't there a rematch clause in there? Number two, where's it going to take place? And number three, where's the money coming from? And Team Wilder can't answer any of those questions. And the truth of the matter is how would you expect Team Joshua, who can get $20 million every time they announce a fight, and sign? Oh, that's right. There's no place to sign because there was no contract. You know what makes this a joke, and it's sad, because Deontay Wilder, his fan base is going to call this like a legit. If Deontay Wilder had the $50 million, and they had it in a situation where they really did have it, this would have been a thought out, intelligent offer. It would have been put on paper. It would have been presented to Eddie Hearn in a way that he could not say no. You know the old saying, make an offer you can't refuse. This is a shallow offer. It sounds great, but where's the substance to it? Where's the substance to the offer? And I think that if you stop and think, as much as we all want this fight, if you stop and think, whichever side of the fence you're on, if you're on the Deontay Wilder side, if you're on the Anthony Joshua side, if this offer was made legitimately, here's a contract. Here it is. Here's your guarantee. You're guaranteed $50 million, AJ. And if we make $180 million, you're going to get another 40. Okay, here it is. This contract is saying you're guaranteed no less than $50 million. Regardless of what the fight generates, you're going to get $50 million. Here's the money. It's in an escrow account. You know, we got it here, or we have affidavits. We have statements from investors that are backing us. We have a what do they call that? Where you get a bank letter saying yes, the money they are backed. We are going to cover them. Blah blah blah. You get all of this in place. That is a bona fide, legitimate offer. And then, if they did that, if Deontay Wilder's team did that, then Anthony Joshua would be against the wall. So would Eddie Hearn. They would have to take the fight. And if they didn't take the fight, then Deontay Wilder's team could turn around and say, with legitimacy, with fact, that AJ turned the fight down. But by letting Deontay Wilder, who, oh, by the way, has never made more than $3 million in the ring. His biggest payday was slightly under $2.5 million for the Luis Ortiz fight. And with all of the hands in his pockets, he's not going to be writing a check for $50 million. It was, in my opinion, ludicrous that Deontay Wilder even sent an offer from him personally to Eddie Hearn. He doesn't have the money. There's no proof that there's ever going to be money. And the funniest part of it all is if let me add another wrench in here. If Showtime even backed the offer, you would have a leg to stand on, Team Wilder. But and then after all of that, now we're not talking about $50. We're talking about $50 million. Okay. After all of that, to put a time limit to say that you got to agree to this by tomorrow, which is today, is also a red flag. I think that this is a stupid move on Deontay Wilder's part. And I say this because anyone that has a brain, whether you're a Wilder fan or not, you are going to have to ask yourself about the legitimacy of this. And then, if it doesn't happen, let's say, because nobody in their right mind is going to agree to something verbally and then, not have a contract. And quite honestly, Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua could say, shit, yeah, we're going to take it. We're going to take it. We want it. Where do we sign? Where do we sign? And then all of a sudden, you're going to hear crickets because you know what? They don't have anything written down. And then if they come and they get the contract, and the contract is actually stated, then Team AJ can say, wait a minute, they wanted us to do this, they wanted us to do that. No, we're not going to take it that. We'll take the $50 million, but it's got to be XYZ. That's what you do with a legitimate contract negotiation. Same thing that we've been asking Team Wilder to do with the offer that Eddie Hearn already made to fight, for Joshua and Wilder to fight. Deontay Wilder hasn't come back with anything except for this. Hey, we'll give you $50 million. We're not going to tell you where the fight is. We're not going to tell you when the fight is. We're not going to tell you where the money's coming from. Oh, and by the way, you got 24 hours to sign the deal. Sign what deal? Sign what deal? There's no deal. It's a joke. Hey, listen, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're scheduled to have my man Randy Gordon join us. So don't go anywhere. We will be back in, I'm going to predict, 2 minutes.
Billy C will be right back.
Relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt. The innovative technology works to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
You know, similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
This is important news for women using birth control medications and devices. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with a pseudotumor after using one of these birth control drugs or devices, you may be eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Contact the law firm of Davis & Crump right now if you or a loved one have used one of these birth control medications or devices and were diagnosed with a pseudotumor to see if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call now. Operators are standing by.
Hologram USA presents a proposal to all investors.
The one, the only, Don King.
Makes me feel good, Billy, to have you, the #1 show in the country, talking boxing with Billy. So I invite each and every American that's listening to this great show to tune in, because we want you to be there with Billy and me.
Now back to Talking Boxing with Billy C., the only radio host man enough to take a punch from Mike Tyson.
Wait a minute, man. Hold on there. Jeremy, man, I need you to take this one, all right?
Wait, what? No way. I can't do this.
Need I remind you I'm Billy C., damn it? Now put on that mustache and get in there.
Hey, look at me. I'm Billy C. Crap.
Undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. It's Talking Boxing with Billy C. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. Don't forget, it's Super Chat Thursday. If you got a super chat for us, we'll talk about it, read whatever you say, whatever you want, on the air. So do that. It's up in the YouTube chat room right now. Speaking of right now, joining me, this guy is very well known in the boxing business, former Ring Magazine editor. He's a New York State Boxing Hall of Famer. He's a former New York State Athletic Commissioner. He works with fighters. He's also on a Sirius radio show with my man Jerry Cooney. Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, and children of all ages, please welcome the one, the only, Randy Gordon. Good morning, Randy.
Good morning. This is really working.
You know, I sent you that little note over on the Facebook of like, geez, I hope he remembers to actually turn it on today. You know, I mean, we went through everything yesterday, but glad to have you, Randy. You know, big news we get to talk about. It was reported yesterday that Deontay Wilder stuck out an offer, a $50 million guaranteed purse offer, and then some to Anthony Joshua to step in the ring with him. You know, Deontay Wilder has been pounding on his chest and calling out Anthony Joshua for quite some time. You know, I read some of the quotes from Eddie Hearn, and to me, Randy, it's pretty simple. If you're going to make an offer like this, you need to have certain things tied with it. Like, for example, a contract would have been nice, you know, to at least look at a contract. A projected date would have been nice, and a projected location would have been nice. And also some kind of proof that you even had the money. And one last thing. This was an email that was sent from Deontay Wilder personally, and the most important part, they got until the end of today to make a response. I don't know about you, Randy, but to me, this seems like a PR move. What's your thoughts on this whole situation?
It's very confusing, Billy. Very confusing. I mean, I know that Deontay Wilder wants the fight. I speak to him quite often, and I know he wants the fight. But to go about it this way, and it's one thing. See, and there's one guy that I truly believe in, and it's Shelly Finkel. I think if anybody could pull off a major money deal, it's Shelly Finkel. I've seen what he's done over the years with many big fights. And Shelly, when it comes to money, I don't think anybody's better. He's got something in his head. But the thing is, and the $50 million, you know what? It's not like they're running over there with the bag. They're dropping it at his feet. I'm sure that it's going to be there. And Shelly working with Al Heyman, and somehow I think that Showtime and some network power is behind that as well, because they're going to make money as well on the pay-per-view. They're going to get it back. This is not lost money. But the whole thing about sending it there and then saying, you've got to sign it by today, that makes no sense to me. I mean, nobody drops a contract at the feet of somebody and says, you got to sign it today. Doesn't happen. That's what's really confusing to me. And does it really matter to Deontay Wilder's camp if they fight this year? I mean, Deontay apparently has Dominic Breazeale, and this is a whole other thing I don't understand, as is mandatory. And you could, and I was with you. I'm still saying that the fight takes place next year. But a PR move? What kind of crazy PR move is this? What does it gain them? I have no idea. But later today, I'll be getting Shelly Finkel on the line, and I'm going to probably understand a lot more. And tomorrow on the show on SiriusXM's At the Fights with me and Cooney, Eddie Hearn is going to be on, and I want to get his take on it. But right now, it's very confusing about this $50 million, about signing the contract today. That doesn't make any sense. I don't understand what that's all about.
No, you don't make a substantial offer like that and then expect a signature that minute, you know. And as far as a PR move, you know, if you look at it this way, Randy, if the fight, if obviously Eddie Hearn's not going to sign this, right? I mean, because there's nothing really to sign. I mean, that's a whole other thing. There's no contract yet, you know. There's nothing in black and white. But let's just say that the deadline comes and goes, which I'm sure it's today, you know.
Sure.
You know, and now what Wilder's going to do, the next immediate thing you're going to hear him say is, AJ turned down the offer. He don't want to fight me. He's this, he's that. And I think the only thing they gain is more demand for the fight. I think that what's happening here, Randy, is a simple case of, and quite honestly, and like we were talking off the air yesterday, you know, you're a lot nicer guy than me. The truth of the matter is that, you know, Deontay Wilder has been mishandled. He hasn't been promoted correctly, and if it weren't for himself doing the things that bother me the most, pounding on his chest saying he's the best, everybody's scared of him, blah, 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 nobody would even know who he is. And when does that, you know, burden fall on his promoter of record, Lou DiBella, or even his management, like you mentioned, Shelly Finkel or Al Heyman? You know, when do they start to do anything along those lines? And if it wasn't for Showtime, where else is money coming from for these guys? I think that if they wanted to make a legitimate offer, you know, a couple of things would have needed to take place, even if they left that 24-hour you got to accept clause in there. Number one, show me the money. Get me a statement from Showtime like you suggest, and I say the same thing. You know, they have the money. You know, get me a bank statement that says, yes, we're backing him. He's got the money. Show me something that you have that shows that the money is there, that you're not going to try to get this fight signed, sealed, and delivered and then go and raise the money, you know, because then that costs everybody money. I think it's kind of maybe it's a negotiation tactic to get Eddie Hearn to up his offer. I don't know. but it came out of left field, kind of. And the parameters about the 24 hours, really, that's a red flag for me, Randy.
It is for me, too. As I was reading it all yesterday, I said, what is that all about? But, I'm going to go back to the beginning of this year. And again, maybe I have just a little... I speak to Deontay. And because I know how much he wants the fight, he said, but I'm not going to be taking it for 85% for him and 15% for me. And we were talking about the $12.5 million. And I said, but you've never made this kind of money before. He said, but the reason he's going to make all the money is because I'm involved. I'm being Deontay Wilder.
Yeah, but that's not, I don't mean to cut you off, but that's not true. I mean, AJ makes that $20 million fighting me or you. He could make $20 million. Deontay never made more than 2.5.
Right. I mean, he could fight any one of us and make that kind of money over in England. He is the hottest athlete, bigger than any soccer star, rugby, whatever it might be. He is the biggest thing ever. There's never been a fighter this big. And remember, had this been 30 years ago and there's no internet, he's still going to be big. The internet has just exploded everybody's popularity everywhere, from the president of the United States, whether you love him or hate him, and athletes and everything. Deontay Wilder doesn't have that here. Anthony Joshua has it there, and you're right. He could fight anybody and make 15, 20, 25 million. But he's going to make, let's say, Floyd Mayweather kind of money against only one guy, and that's Deontay Wilder. Because when that fight happens, it is going to be the biggest heavyweight fight. Listen, to me, Ali Frazier 1 was the biggest thing ever, and it probably always will be. But there was no social media. This is going to be much bigger. Joshua Wilder, Wilder Joshua is going to be much bigger with much more money. Anthony Joshua is going to earn 250, 300 million from that fight. So Wilder says, why should I make 12.5 million when he's going to make all that money? Give me some more. I understand it. But I also understand the other side. People saying, but you've never even made half that amount. So the negotiations go on with Wilder's camp trying to get as much as they possibly can. And can they bring it to the United States? This whole thing with a rematch clause is crazy. I think there should be a rematch clause, and I do believe Anthony Joshua would want one.
Listen, first of all, Randy, we got this super chat going on, and I got a question directed to you. This is from my man Johnston. He says, "Hey, Randy, away from the money, in your opinion, who wins this fight, Wilder or AJ?"
I'm going with Wilder. I think Anthony Joshua is, to me, a little bit overly muscular, way too muscular. I think that he's fast for a muscular guy, not as fast as Wilder in my book. And I think he reminds me a lot of Frank Bruno. Now, if you guys remember Frank Bruno, another big puncher who was undefeated from Great Britain, the first time he lost was to the guy that I managed, to Bone Crusher Smith. We took Bone Crusher over to England, and we knew we really didn't have much of a chance, but we knew if we found his chin, we'd be able to get him, and Bone Crusher got him in the 10th round. Deontay Wilder is so much better than Bone Crusher. Look, there's a lot of things that he's got to work on. The jab was basically non-existent against Ortiz. The hook, I mean, it was just non-existent. Jerry Cooney's watching that going, you got to get me in there. Let me show him how to throw the hook. But damn it, he did show the chin. He showed his fighting heart, which was denied by so many people. And of course, he's got a right hand. I'm not ready to put it up there with Ernie Shavers yet. But it's a right hand that I think there's nobody else that has a right hand like that. I mean, he hits so hard with it that if he misses you, he hurts you. That's the right hand that I think is going to take Anthony Joshua out of there, because I think if they both land their Sunday best, Anthony Joshua is the one that's going to lay out.
I disagree with you on the outcome,
of course.
but the thing is to me, Deontay Wilder has exceptional power. And that's all. He's become that one-trick pony. Mark Breland did a great job with him, with his jab. But we only saw it really in one fight, and that was the first Verne fight. We haven't seen it since. And because of his punching power, he relies on that. He's superbly conditioned, so he's always never seems to get tired, which I love. The Ortiz fight showed he's vulnerable, but you're right. I gained all kinds of respect for him because of his heart, and his chin proved to be better than most people thought. So it's going to be a good fight. I see crazy leg work. I see wildness with his delivery of punches, but all of that could work in his advantage. My point about the two things that you touched on prior to the question that was directed to you. The rematch makes no sense. Think about this for a second, Randy. The money is what drives the sport, okay? And if Deontay Wilder says, well, why should I accept $12.5 million, even though it's $10 million more than I ever made, when he's going to make such and such? Well, I use the same analogy for football players. Guy playing the line or whatever signs a 3-year deal for $5 million, let's say. And a year into the deal, they sign a new guy, and he gets a 3-year deal for $8 million. Now all of a sudden, the other guy says, "Whoa, I'm only getting $5 million. I want to redo my contract." The time to negotiate is before the name is signed, and Deontay's doing that now. Okay, but if it's all about the money, if he's so concerned about making sure that he gets his fair shake, I ask two questions. Number one, why the heck isn't there a rematch in there? That guarantees you 2 big paydays. And number two, if you are too greedy with the first one, you could backload that rematch, win, lose, or draw. You could backload that with money if you had to, if you were really concerned. But by not taking a fight when it's offered, and what's going to happen by next week, remember, a week from today, I believe, is the end of the free negotiation period for the demand that the WBA put on Anthony Joshua. So they have to shift gears and start working on the Povetkin fight. If they can't get a Wilder Joshua fight signed, sealed, and delivered by this time next week, it isn't going to happen until next year, and probably the end of next year, because then the other mandatories are going to come into play. Deontay will end up with a mandatory. The IBF will throw a mandatory at Joshua. The WBO will throw a mandatory at Joshua. So some of these pieces of the puzzle, Randy, don't match. It seems like, and you're right, Shelly Finkel, nobody's smarter than Shelly Finkel. I'm sure he's aware of all of this. That's why the timing to me seems like it's not legit.
It makes me wonder. I mean, when you talk about rematch clauses, you do backload it. You might say, Deontay might say, okay, when I beat you, tell you what, I'll give you a rematch, but you got to do it over here. You got to I'll go to United Kingdom for the first fight, but the second one, you're coming over here. We're going to fight down in Tuscaloosa, University of Alabama, something like that. He might not like that, but a rematch is a rematch. And it's funny. The first fight, maybe there would never be a second fight. Maybe the first fight, one guy blows out the other so easy. Let's use. I'm thinking that Deontay wins. Let's say he outboxes Anthony Joshua in the first 2 rounds and knocks him cold in the third round. Do you really want to see a rematch? Or the other way around? Do you want to see a rematch? Usually it has to be a good 2-sided fight. Ali Frazier was a great 2-sided fight. It was demolition derby in that first fight, so that brought on the second one, which incredibly was more or less a stinker. Who would have ever thought that there would have been a third fight after that second one, which was just so forgettable, and the third fight would turn into the most savage heavyweight title fight of all time? There was no sign of that in the second fight. So, I mean, with Wilder and Joshua, you've got 2 big punchers, 2 big men, 2 of the biggest men ever to hold the heavyweight title in against each other. It's very interesting, although I'm really thinking that it's not going to happen this year. I've been saying 2019 for a long time, and I believe that.
Yeah, I too. I mean, although it doesn't need to be. This whole marination process that we got into, it's such a scam. You know what I always say, Randy? The truth of the matter is this. Every big fight, right now, this is the biggest fight. Everybody wants this fight, blah, blah, blah. Once it happens, you know what? As sure as you and I are talking right now, there'll be another big, great fight that everybody will want to see will slip into the mix. So to suggest that you have to wait and build up a desire for this, no. The only advantage that Deontay Wilder has by doing what they did is to gain more recognition worldwide, because this story of this offer is plastered all over the globe today. And, at the end of the day, think about how much publicity Team Wilder has gotten for zero money. This was an email that Deontay sent. They didn't even have to pay Shelley or Al to do it. They didn't even have to pay their people to do it. This was an email that was sent, and it followed up by a tweet by Deontay himself. So think about that. When you really, people have a tendency not to realize what things actually cost and what it really takes to make a fight or anything for that matter in the business world. So think about all this and what it would have cost to get Deontay Wilder's name plastered all over every media outlet around the globe within a 24-hour period as quickly as he did for nothing. What's your thoughts? When
I look at the whole list of Team Wilder, from Deontay Wilder and JD's, his longtime co-manager and trainer, real good buddy from down in Tuscaloosa, and Al Heyman and Lou DiBella, that name Shelley Finkel keeps jumping out. Shelley, as you know and you said, Shelley's just this no-nonsense guy who knows the business. He's in the Hall of Fame, and he belongs there. When Shelley makes deals, he knows what he's doing. He's a negotiator at the top of the level. I don't know what Shelley's plan is here. But Shelley he's not the kind of guy who would say, okay, Deontay, you go send whatever tweet you want. Okay, 50 million, fine. He's not like that. He would sit down with Deontay and say, here's what we're going to do. Shelley has a plan. It doesn't mean that the plan is going to work. But when Shelley is involved, it's real. So I believe that this is a whole real thing. And maybe they do and say, you know what? You don't have it today. We don't sign. I know that they all want it. I know the Team Wilder wants it. And I know the Team Joshua really, they say they want it. But in my mind, I think this is a fight they don't want so fast. Because as you said, and this is true, he could fight anybody from Joseph Parker, and you just name it. He could fight Andy Ruiz over in the United Kingdom and make $20-some-odd million. What does he need Wilder for? I mean, yes, $200 million, but he could keep picking up bigger paydays than any champion in history, fighting A- fighters, B+ fighters. He doesn't need Deontay Wilder. Wilder needs him.
You're right, and we're time flies when you're having the good, and I hope we can get you on more often, Randy, because we're almost out of time. But here's the thing: the reason you fight that big money fight. Let's be real. We could live in a fantasy world. And guys like you and I do, because we kind of wish that boxing was the way it was, 50 years ago. But the truth of the matter is, the ideal situation in the sport of boxing is to fight, really, as much as none of us purists want to admit it, the truth of the matter is to fight the least amount of fights and make the most amount of money.
Most amount of money,
right.
Right.
So with that theory in mind, you look at these two guys and you say to yourself, Who else can they fight right now in one fight and make that kind of money? You're right. Just like, I mentioned about AJ can fight me or you or anybody else, bring back John Ruiz, even my good friend Ernie Shavers, bring him out of retirement, even though he doesn't even really follow the sport right now. And AJ makes $20 million, but he's still got to fight 5 of us. He could for what he can make with one fight. And the beauty of the heavyweight division, the reason why we love it so much, is anything can happen. Johan Duhaupas could have knocked out Deontay Wilder. Joseph Parker could have knocked out Anthony Joshua. That's why we love the heavyweight division. So to risk yourself, and Deontay, you're right, he needs the AJ fight because at his biggest purse that he made, Luis Ortiz, $2.5 million, he's got to fight, 20 fights to make it. He's got to fight 10 at least, and anything can happen. Age, father time gets fighters over within a fight. Between the 5th and 10th round, you can watch a fighter age, So, no, it makes no financial sense, and neither did the offer. If it had a little more substance, I'd be much happier over it. But truthfully, at the end of the day, don't they got to get in the ring sooner than later?
I'd love to listen. I would love nothing more than to hear that all of a sudden they've struck a deal, and August 10th or whatever, they're going to be in the ring against each other. That's great. I don't need Big Baby Miller coming in here or Dominic Breazeale or anybody else. I want to see Wilder and Joshua. Am I going to see it? Are you going to see it? Are we all going to see it? That I don't know. I'm going to try to get Shelley Finkel on the line to really explain to me today what the heck is going on.
Yeah, well, you know what? It'd be interesting to see what he would say off the air to you.
Yeah.
Because the truth of the matter is to me, first of all, if there was some substance to this deal, all the pressure gets thrown back to AJ. So far, all the pressure, in my opinion, has been on Deontay, despite, him pounding his chest saying he's the best. The pressure's on him because he hasn't responded until yesterday to the offer that was made. And they wasted a lot of time, Randy. They could have said 12.5, even though I thought that was a good offer for him at this stage. But They could have laughed, and they could have said, no, we want $50 million. And then have Eddie Hearn come back and say, okay, we'll give you 25. That's how it works. I don't understand why the silence, and then you come down and drop a bomb on Team Joshua and the sport of boxing and say, hey, here's $50 million, but you got to sign by tomorrow. It just, red flags are popping up, man. It just, I want it to happen, and I would jump, just like AJ said, he would jump on a $50 million guaranteed fight offer, but make it an offer. An email from Deontay is not a legitimate offer. I don't think so. What do you think?
I don't. But the games are being played, and these backroom games. Listen, I told Deontay to his face, I said, you're not going to get, I know you would like a bigger chunk. That's not going to happen. It's not going to be 50-50. It's not going to be 65-35. You're going to probably have to look at around 70-30 if you're lucky. And if I'm lucky, then he goes off. In his mind, he is still the star, and he's not. I think they finally sold him on that, and he knows that if he gets 80-20, that could be good, or 75-25, something like that. But for him to think that he was going to get $12.5 million, and Anthony Joshua was going to rake in over $200 million or whatever, and he will. It is going to be so huge. It's going to be like Mayweather, Conor McGregor, where the money was just like water coming out of a faucet. That's how much they made. This is going to do much of the same thing, and especially because of the United Kingdom and Europe, which has so latched on to Anthony Joshua. He is the biggest thing I think Europe has ever seen in the way of heavyweights.
Hey, Randy. When you talk to Shelley, tell him I've been telling the best, fairest deal that they should make, and it's really a good one that I think all the fans would love. And I'm not so sure Team AJ would love it, but Deontay Wilder could really put himself in a position to back up what he says. Tell Shelley that I suggest that they do a 45-35 split. 45 going to AJ, 35 to Deontay, and 20% bonus to the winner. Let's make it the way it used to be. Back in the day, in bare knuckle days, they would put up all the money for the fight, winner take all. Then they would pass around a hat and collect for the loser. I'm not suggesting to go that back, but 45-35 split guaranteed, 20% bonus to the winner. Let's get it done. Nobody can complain about that breakup.
I'm looking. It's funny. I'm looking at those 45-35 numbers, and I'm being Eddie Hearn right now. Eddie Hearn would be going, "What are you, crazy? 45-35? How about like 60-20? Okay, 60-20 with maybe a 20% bonus. But I'm not doing 45-35.
Well, hey,
they want big chunk. They want the big percentage. And to them, I think 45-35. And even if they win the fight and get that your 20% bonus, that's 65%. So 65-35. That wouldn't work for Eddie Hearn.
But that would work for Deontay, and nobody can complain. And remember something: when you're talking percentage splits, they're talking a split of the profit. So that number is unforeseen. Let's say the fight bombs and they don't even make that. Listen, it's not going to happen. Right. Yeah, you're right. It's going to generate over $100 million. But the truth of the matter is that it could bomb, and 12.5 could end up being a bigger chunk than you realize. But in any event, it sounds fair on paper anyway, brother. But hey, listen.
When I speak to Shelley, I'll mention it, and it's funny. I'm going to mention it to Eddie Hearn when he's on my show tomorrow.
Well, it sounds good, my man. Hey, listen, we loved having you on, and we look forward to you next time. Whenever you're available, drop me a
I love it, and
text.
I gotta tell you, I loved the book. Keep pushing it. I'm going to push it. I loved this book. I mean, fans who are just it's a quick read. Like you had said, it's a quick read. Read it on the plane going to Chicago, and I love the book. Great job with it.
Well, I appreciate that. And, it's funny. It took all those years to research, and it spit out 150 pages. When I was writing it, I was going to, assume a lot of things. But then halfway through, I decided to shift gears and just put, I know it's not a captivating read, but it's definitely.
Oh, that was good.
Well, you're into the sport, but factual.
I think if people do take a look at it, it talks about a guy who was born, in 1763 or whatever, slave, and the whole thing, it was almost, I could see watching this, I could see this being made into a documentary.
Well,
we can.
There was a documentary made, but right now you just touched on something. We are working on a movie in England, so hopefully I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Maybe they won't shut my electric off if they get a movie built. Hey, Randy, I appreciate your time, my man, and we look forward to next time, brother.
Thanks a lot. I love you guys. Keep doing what you're doing. Boxing loves you.
Thanks, Randy. Have a great day.
You too.
That's Randy Gordon. Glad to have him, and you'll be seeing his face on this show in the near future often. Hey, listen, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, Alex Papali scheduled to come on, give his thoughts. $50 million. We'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back. Part of the Billy C Boxing Network.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks. Like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free. Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt. The innovative technology works to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
You know, similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Exercise year-round against a smooth current set to your desired pace and temperature. With our new underwater treadmill, you can walk or run without stressing your joints. Endless pools are simple to install and even simpler to maintain. The water stays crystal clear with almost no chlorine. Call for your free idea kit and experience the freedom of swimming at home.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. He may not have an Excellence in Broadcasting award, but the night's still young.
And he's got martinis.
So you never know what may be by morning. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C Show. Glad you could be with us. And don't forget, it's Super Chat Thursday. So if you have a question, comment, concern, go into the YouTube and lay on us. Yeah. I gotta be careful of the order in which I say those words. Lay on us a Super Chat, and we'll be glad to mention it live right now. Joining us, and speaking of right now, joining us all the way from, actually it's not that far away, is my man Alex Perpali. Well, what's up, my man?
All the way from the Mill River.
All the way from, he's right up the street, actually. No. Big news, big news. A big offer has been made, $50 million to fight Deontay Wilder, but you got to sign the invisible contract today by the close of the day. What's your thoughts on all this, my man?
Yeah, I think it's a publicity move, like you and Randy just said. I just wanted to mention that I really enjoy seeing Randy on the show. That was great. For me, it's really it's a thrill because when I got into the sport, it was in the Tyson era. I was 15, and I can remember just back then there was no internet, so you really. We had a VCR, so we recorded, like USA fights, and we recorded ESPN fights, and me and my friend Martin Connolly would pore over the Ring record book and, read the boxing magazines. And I can remember some, really enjoying Randy, both as a commentator, as a writer, and then as New York State Athletic Commissioner. Like Larry Hazard, he's proof that there are humane people in our sport. As well as, even though that's a complexity some people don't get because they see people hitting each other. They think it's sadistic. But of course it's competition. And I really liked Randy's reach when he came up with that as a way to measure jabbing distance rather than wingspan, which people always used. But I think that I think what, like Randy was saying, that the magnitude of Ali Frazier, had there been social media, would have just been astronomical. And I think Deontay Wilder and Al Heyman know that. And I think what you alluded to earlier, I think that's very much what it is. He knows that there's like a social media aspect to the sport. And if he could get people believing that there was a $50 million offer on the table that Anthony Joshua walked away from, I think that gives him a lot of social media credibility. So I think it's kind of phony. I think they will fight, of course, but I think we're going to still wait for it, and it's going to go back and forth like this. It's kind of lame because it's clearly, like you guys were mentioning, it seems, why would you put a deadline on such a big offer? An overnight deadline, what's the rush? Think about it. And why would there be no rematch clause? Those things are ridiculous. Those are non-starters. And I think even $50 million is kind of, an underestimate, because this fight is going to make numbers we've never seen. And I'm looking forward to it as a boxing fan, because as much as I gave Anthony Joshua massive credit for the win over Vladimir Klitschko, I thought he looked great that night. That was a wonderful night for boxing. The way that Joshua gave credit, homage to Evander Holyfield and Lennox Lewis and Roy Jones, who were in attendance. That was just a great night. I had a lump in my throat as a fan of the sport, especially heavyweights. Because heavyweights, the expectation, I'm going to an Avengers movie tonight, and it's kind of the same thing. The expectations are high, and I know it's going to be a letdown. In some ways, hopefully there'll be moments. Same thing with Jarrell Big Baby Miller. I'm excited for a heavyweight fight this weekend, but Bill, there's going to be stinky moments. That's what you get with heavyweights. But one other thing I just wanted to throw in there before I throw it back to you is that Bone Crusher Smith Frank Bruno fight. I can remember what Randy was talking about. I think it might have been a Steve Farhood column where he said that Bruno was like a china-chinned muscle man.
Well, that's what they said about Deontay, and he proved that against Ortiz, and they say that about AJ as well. And
they do,
he lived through one of the harder punches ever in the sport with Klitschko. Yes, he hit the deck, but he got up and won the fight. So, listen, the bottom line is we're not talking about some schlunky fight. We're not talking about some, yo-hum, ho-hum type of an offer. We're talking about $50 million. So if you want that to be taken seriously, and I think it also shows how gullible fans are, and I think that they're playing on the desire of all the fans that want to see this fight, and we want it so bad that we're willing to believe this kind of rhetoric. And that's what it is, Alex, because you don't, intelligently throw an offer via an email from the fighter who's not even in a position to make any deals, and then demand that it's signed, sealed, and delivered wherever. I don't know what they're supposed to do, sign the email. I don't know, but agree to it within.
It goes 20, by timestamp.
Yeah, like I do with the trivia question. Agree to it within 24 hours. I mean, all those flags go up. It's just. We want to see the fight so bad. We want now. I mean, even myself, I found myself saying, "Okay, AJ, take it." And then I'm like, "Wait a minute. Let me see what the whole thing is." And like Randy suggested, Shelley Finkel, smart guy. I really started appreciating him with, of course, Mike Tyson, but the guy that you really got to look at if you want to look more recently, and I had this guy, Danny Garcia, I had him on when he first started. Shelly Finkel was handling Danny Garcia early on. I think he may still be, I don't know. But this guy brought Danny Garcia on all the big shows. He was on the undercard, so he got to see what it was like to be on the big stage, and he was ready for it when his time came. A lot of fighters they're not ready. They're fighting in small club shows, blah, blah, blah. Next thing you know, they're in England in front of 90,000 people, and that in itself is a fight that they got to deal with. I'm not suggesting Deontay couldn't handle that, but they should have made a real offer, an offer that they could have went back and said they declined it. I don't want to hear Deontay tomorrow, or I don't want to see his Twitter account tomorrow saying, he doesn't want to fight me, he's scared, he wouldn't take $50 million, because that's what you're going to see. You're going to see, they wouldn't take $50 million. But I didn't see a contract, neither did they. My man Johnston, who's a correspondent for us over in England, has some responses from Eddie Hearn himself over the last several hours, Alex. So I'll read them to you and get your thoughts. The first one, which I agree with, he says, it was a great move from Team Wilder. It makes everyone say, oh, man, you got to take this fight now. He says, we really want to do the fight in the UK because we've built something special here. But if there's substantial money to do it somewhere else, we'll definitely look at it. In my opinion, it's got to be in the UK or Vegas. It's not a case of if we sign the contract. He says it's not a case of we sign the contract, then they go and raise the money. You got to have the money now. Show it, and we'll sign the contract. He says, I spoke to Anthony Joshua. He knows the situation, but we all want to know if this is real. We want to see the money, know that it exists. There is a real strong chance that this fight's going to happen. We're not going to be difficult. I take this as, listen, show me a contract and we'll sign it. I can't think, and I agree with Eddie Hearn here, I can't think that you take this seriously without any substance. What's your thoughts, man?
I like that response. I think that's a calm, reasoned response, and I think that's probably not what Wilder expected. I think that, like you're saying, I think he wants to jack this up in the social media world. And by Eddie Hearn coming back, very rational, very reasoned, it doesn't give it an opportunity to do that. Rather than them just storming away saying, how dare you, we could make so much more, or whatever. We don't deserve that, there's less ability to say, see, look, the money was on the table, they don't want it. So I'm encouraged by what Eddie Hearn said. This fight will happen. There's too much, just like Mayweather-Pacquiao, there's too much money for it not to happen, and there's even more. The bloom on the fight is now. I think that within the next year or two, it's got to happen. It cannot wait and let it go back and forth like this for like a 24-month, 36-month type wait like we got for Mayweather-Pacquiao. Well, we waited for that for 4 years, 5 years. Unfortunately, I think Al Heyman thinks that was successful. So that's why this idea of marinating this fight, I wouldn't be surprised if that's something that Team Wilder is okay with, just starting a media war, a back and forth, and making fans wait for the fight. I hope that doesn't happen. I hope they're smart about this, because think about it. These guys are young athletes. They could have a series of fights. They want to make $100 million a fight. Well, what about making $300 million, or how about more with 3 fights? They're still young. You could have one in Wembley, one in Barclays Center or Madison Square Garden. New York seems to be like a home away from home for Wilder in some ways. These have to be big events, each one of them. So I don't mind waiting a little while, but like Randy said, 2019 would be nice. It would be great if they come out and say this fight is going to happen in November. But I don't see that. I think the soonest we might get it is maybe next summer.
The problem first of all, Al Heyman saying that the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight was a success.
I think he thinks of it that way.
Well,
because financially it was.
Right. I was that's what I was just going to say. Financially, how could you say it wasn't a success? But that's where these kinds of guys rip the boxing purists to shreds, because they could care less about the sport and the impact that those fights make or don't make on the
decision.
Right. Now, as far as your point about the fights, that's the issue. That's the part that doesn't make sense or doesn't make financial sense. If the trick is to make as much money as you can, as fast as you can, in the least amount of fights, the least amount of risk, blah, 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 well, then it stands to reason that, these guys could make $100 million, let's just say, each in 2 fights, make 50-50 in 2 fights. How many fights? I mean, for Anthony Joshua to make $100 million, he's got 5 fights he's got to make. Deontay Wilder, at the very least, he's going to have to make $200 million. He's going to have to fight 10 fights. So I mean, it makes no sense. A rematch, like Randy had suggested. Well, sometimes you don't want to. It doesn't garner a rematch. Well, the only time it wouldn't garner a rematch is if you get a blowout. But the truth of the matter is that you would be guaranteed at least one rematch, because regardless of who wins, the rematch is still in demand. You can say, oh, well, he landed a lucky punch. Just, let's say Deontay Wilder knocks out Anthony Joshua in the first round. You can say, well, hey, it's a heavyweight division. That's what happens. I'm going to knock him out in this next time we fight. What would happen if they wanted to make $300 million? Then they better make damn sure that each of them get a W. Then you have the trilogy, But very least 2 fights. But I think that the first fight should happen now. Then let everybody, whoever wins, do the mandatory route. Let the loser get back up on his horse, get a win under his belt, and you could drag the rematch out for another year. But if they don't sign, sealed, and deliver, like I keep saying, if they don't sign, sealed, and deliver a fight between the 2 of them, regardless of what the deal is, if it's not done by, Wednesday of next week, it ain't happening this year, because the mandatories that start to fall into place will prevent at least Anthony Joshua from fighting for a year. And, oh, by the way, the WBC is going to have a mandatory lined up for Deontay in another 6-7 months anyway. So if these guys don't fight now, the fight could be put off 18 months. I said all along I didn't think this fight would happen until the mid to end of next year. And if it doesn't happen now, the way things have unfolded, it may not even happen then. It's a waste of money. It's a waste of time, and it's a waste of 2 young fighters' careers not to have this fight now. We want to see these guys in their prime. They're in their prime now. To make us wait in the heavyweight division 2 years to fight, we may not see the same 2 fighters, Alex.
It's true. It would be nice to see it within the next year, but it seems like they're going to make us wait. And I think that's one of the things for me. Like I was saying earlier, I really gave Joshua a lot of. I looked at him as much as the sure thing to beat Wilder. Since then, even though. I think in a lot of ways, Wilder has regressed, and since his first win over Stavern, that was the best he's looked in terms of strict boxing skill. His win over Ortiz is the one that showed the most mettle and the most, the fact that, he has a chin, he can deal with adversity. But I think the thing about it is that, in a way, Joshua has regressed since the win over Klitschko, and it does make me think that one of the big knocks in that fight was, well, this is a 41-year-old guy that he's beating up. I think that the thing about the fight now is that both guys seem to have regressed enough that the fight's more appealing to me now than it was right after Joshua beat Klitschko. Because back then I thought Joshua was a sure thing to beat him. Now I think it's pretty even, because I think that we know Wilder believes in his power and believes in it so much that the risks he takes, he knows he's not too far out on a limb. And by that I mean that, like, when he was in trouble with Ortiz, he didn't go into a shell or anything. He risked, and he did. He came up ahead. He stopped Ortiz. So I think that makes him believe in himself more. So I don't know. I think that's huge for a heavyweight fighter to have that. I like his chances now very much against Joshua because Joshua hasn't shown that as much as he did in the Klitschko fight. He showed that when he got off the deck and came back to get Klitschko, but I thought he looked very timid in his last fight. It was neither one of those guys went after it against Parker. And so I don't know. In terms of the interest in the fight, I'm more interested now than I was, because now I see it as 50-50. So, yeah, it would be nice for it to happen, of course, but I do think that this is just a publicity thing, and we're not going to see it. We might have to suffer through mandatories first, but even that won't be too bad. And remember, I don't know, I mean, as much as I don't like his style, I do hope Tyson Fury makes a comeback, because I think Fury-Joshua would be interesting, and I think I was already excited to see Fury Wilder, but Fury destroyed himself, so we never got to see that. I think if he could put himself back together, Fury's in the mix too. We've got 3 guys in the heavyweight division that make it just absolutely fascinating. So hopefully we get a bunch of fights.
That's the whole key, though, Alex. You know, Anthony Joshua has so many big money fights available to him. You know, a showdown in England against Tyson Fury. The up-and-coming Daniel Dubois is a guy that's making some noise. You could potentially see a showdown him. A rematch with Dillian White. You know, all domestic fights. You know, this is why when you say, well, you know, Anthony Joshua doesn't need to fight as much as Deontay does. When you think of Deontay Wilder, what other fight is there for him? I mean, you know, first of all, Jarrell Baby Miller is a joke. That guy's the biggest fraud since David Hay. You know, so I mean, you know, he hasn't fought anybody, and he's ranked. You know, which makes me sick. But you take him out of the mix. Who else is there for Deontay Wilder? You know, he's going to end up fighting the same types of guys that he's going to blow away, and you know, that ruins his career. You know, it's anti. I don't know. I don't know. It's anti
climactic.
No, I didn't want to use that word. Anti-normal? No. But no, Abby Normal. You know, Young Frankenstein. I love that line.
Yeah,
I got it. What was the name on that brain? It was Abby something. Abby Normal. But anyway, bottom line, Alex, do you think that that this offer was a ploy, or do you think there was some legitimacy behind it?
I think it's a ploy. Everybody knows that the fight we all want to see is Wilder versus Povetkin. But no, I just looked at BoxRec. I didn't realize that Brian Jennings is fighting this weekend too. He's fighting Joey Dwejko.
yeah. I mean, Joey Dwejko. You know, they're making it. Oh, it's a Philly showdown. 2 Philly. No, one's gonna. I mean, you know, Brian Jennings, prior to his loss against Luis Ortiz, was a real fighter. They've been very, very careful with him since then. I'm not anticipating him having much trouble with Dwejko, but. It is what it is.
No, I like Brian Jennings a lot. I hope he looks good, you know, because an exciting win can do a lot for you in the heavyweight division. And like you said, if we do need just sort of placeholder fights, that, you know, I wouldn't mind seeing Wilder Jennings if he looks good. You know, I can't help but root for the guy. He's a vegan, which I think I aspire to be a vegan. But I do think that this weekend is going to be an exciting weekend for fights. There's so many fights on. Daniel Jacobs, we get to see him. Jarrell Big Baby Miller, he's fun. But like I said, I have, you know, cautious excitement for that because, you know, there's nothing that nothing that stinks worse than a lousy heavyweight fight. But when they're good, they're awesome heavyweights. That's the fun of why they're so exciting. For me, that's sort of been what heavyweights have always fueled my excitement for the sport. And in a way, they're almost like a different division, a different sport to watch, because the physicality of it is so much more. Sometimes it looks less like boxing.
No, hey, I agree with you there. But Alex, I appreciate you taking the time and coming on and helping us fan this fire, so to speak. And we'll see what happens. They got a deadline for this mystery contract that doesn't exist. They have a deadline till the end of today. So
that's right. I hope they make that imaginary deadline.
I was going to say, I'm anticipating them not to make the imaginary deadline. So we'll see what kind of BS tweets we get from Deontay Wilder starting at midnight tonight. So
well, and see, that's why it probably will work for him as a ploy, because an imaginary deadline works in social media, because then you could have imaginary outrage. That's what social media is for. And so this, it's not over, but it's clearly a ploy.
That's what I think. So, Alex, we'll talk to you. You're going to come on tomorrow and give us your picks for the weekend?
Sure thing. I could do that.
Sounds good, man. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right, brother. Take it there.
That's Alex Papali. He'll be here tomorrow with his thoughts. I'm going to take a short break. When I come back, I got some emails to read and a trivia question. Do we have a winner? Could be.
Billy C will be right back. Part of the Billy C Boxing Network.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt. The innovative technology works to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
You know, similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system break down, bust your budget, or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money. It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote. Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. And a special shout out to all of our affiliates, both TV and radio. We're glad to be part of your programming. And if you're watching or listening, we'd love to hear from you, be part of the show. Drop me an email, billy@talkinboxing. That's TALKINBOXING.com. Let us know where you're watching or listening from. We are always happy to hear from new viewers and listeners. And speaking of which, I have a couple of emails right now that I wanted to get to. This one's from Johnston. He says, good morning, Billy C. He says, once again, and he's talking about the fight. He says, I was up in the wee hours in the morning, keeping my son's temperature down. I hope your son feels better. He says, and I noticed breaking news of Deontay Wilder offering Anthony Joshua $50 million. I was half asleep when I read the articles, but I could still manage to read between the lines, unlike Wilder's fans that sprung out of the woodwork. So they are offering to hand over $50 million to AJ before the fight, or are they saying, like they already have, that they think the fight is worth $100 million and Team AJ takes half? The alleged offer was $50 million guaranteed. That's what it was. He says, once again, this fight isn't worth that kind of money. Where are they getting their figures from? I work in finance, and I can categorically tell you that if I went to our CFO and said we need to give this company $50 million because I believe we can earn $100 million in the next 6 months, he would be asking for evidence. If I then said I have no evidence, we are just assuming, but they look after one company, the WBC belt, and we look after the 4 others, the other belts. We have had way more paying customers in the last year than they have in their whole company's existence. Oh, and nobody's ever paid a penny towards their company. It's been completely free. I would probably be sent off to my local GP for a checkup, or be handed my P45. That must be a pink slip in England. He says, now if that company is willing to give us $50 million up front, and the other company wants to assume that we now have a deal, we can literally sit back and let them do the donkey work while we keep our own house in order. In all seriousness, if they gave Team AJ $50 million up front, then wow, they are even more stupid than I thought. Team AJ can take the money and concentrate on training and forget about even trying to sell the fight. They can leave that one up to Wilder because they really do have a terrific track record, don't they? Publicity stunt, if you ask me, just to save face, because Dominic Breazeale fight has already been done. Wilder fans only see the offer, and now the half-wits will buy into it and keep running off their gums about how Anthony Joshua is ducking them. Thanks for the email. You know, in not so many words, I've said this. You don't just make an offer without any substance, especially an offer this big. It's a ploy, boys and girls. Deontay Wilder is not able to generate that kind of money, and neither are his people around him. If they offered a contract, if it was a legitimate contract on paper, of course AJ would have to sign it. And if he didn't, then Team Wilder would have a beef. I asked them, where's the beef? There is no beef. There was no offer. It's alleged. It was an email from Deontay. Deontay doesn't have $50 million. There's no specifics on where the fight's going to be. No specifics on when the fight's going to be. Nothing. Deontay Wilder is trying to get some free publicity, like I mentioned earlier with Randy Gordon and Alex Papali. You know, where else can you get the kind of global overnight coverage that Deontay Wilder did for free? You know, so no, I really don't think that it was legit. And I, too, agree that it's a joke that that people are actually believing that it's a real offer. It's sad. It's sad. It's sad that whoever's out there that believes that this was a legit offer, including Deontay, it's sad. And you're an idiot. So I got another email. This one's from my man Mitch. He says, you know, I agree with you, Billy C., Billy Joe Saunders, and he says, I agree with you, Billy C., and Billy Joe Saunders about the week suspension on on Canelo. He says, boxing is about what? And then he puts money. Until we start delivering heavy punitive damage to fighters who fail these tests, then boxing truly doesn't care about them or the safety of their opponents. In a reactive society, we'll wait until someone is seriously hurt by a drug cheat and then do something. Bottom line is Canelo should have faced punitive damages to go along with his time off from boxing. Fine him based off of his earning potential, millions of dollars, and see if he comes up dirty again or even tries to fake the drug testing system out. The Nevada State Athletic Commission dropped the ball. They must have received a brown bag full of money under the table, because no way they would have done this without money being handed to them legally or otherwise for anyone. You know, that whole situation with Canelo, cheating and being caught and now trying to spin it that he's the victim is nauseating. But it's almost as nauseating as a fake offer from Team Wilder. And I say fake because it's not that I don't want a legitimate offer, because I really do. I just think that, and of all people, you know, Randy Gordon said earlier about Shelley Finkel, and that the guy knows what he's doing, et cetera, and I agree with that. But to make a quote like he did, and his quote is, it's a giant number, but it's also a giant fight. It has to be the next fight for each of them. No rematch clause, and it's for all the belts. We asked them to send us an acceptance by the end of Thursday, which is today. Joshua asked for $50 million against 50%, and we gave it to them. They probably don't believe it's this big of an offer, but it is an unbelievable offer. I hope they accept it. Deontay is thrilled and believes Joshua will take it. The choice of wording, and I especially love, but it's an unbelievable offer, it suggests to me that it's a scam. I'm not suggesting that Shelley Finkel didn't do it or didn't write it or whatever, but it's not a legitimate offer. Any legitimate offer comes as a contract. They've had 2 weeks to draft up a contract to send. Instead, they send an email. $50 million, yeah. I'll tell you what. If Deontay and AJ are listening, if you guys both sign on the paper, I'll give you guys $100 million each. $100 million each you can make, guaranteed. And I'm making you an offer right now. $100 million each. $100 million to AJ, $100 million to Deontay. And you guys accept that, and we'll make the fight. Yeah, okay. All right, do that. Don't forget, tomorrow on the show, we're going to give you our breakdowns and predictions on all the big fights this weekend, and there's quite a few, so you're not going to want to miss tomorrow's show. Trivia question. It's time for the trivia question again. And we had quite a bit of answers over the last several days. The question was, before my 20th birthday, I beat 4 world champions and lost to another one who I also defeated just 1 month past my 20th birthday. Who am I? I gave a bunch of hints. Some of the hints were fought for the world heavyweight title, fought in multiple divisions. He was a well-known fighter. He fought a heavyweight champion who was very dominant as a heavyweight champ, and he fought him twice and lost twice. And then the last hint I gave was he never fought as an amateur. And finally, I'm proud to say that we got a winner, and the winner is Luke Breslin from Down Under. Thunder Breslin, I should say, knew that the answer was Billy Conn. Billy Conn, at the age of 19, the Pittsburgh Kid defeated Fritzy Zivic, Babe Risco, Vince Dundee, and Teddy Yarowitz. And then he lost to young Corbett, numero tres, that he would avenge 3 months later after he turned 20. So congratulations to Luke. I already sent him his copy of the Title Bout Championship computer game. And I got some news for you. You too can win a copy of the Title Bout Championship computer game if you know the answer to today's trivia question. Now, just so you know, the rules are simple. You got to email me the correct answer, Billy@TalkinBoxing. That's TalkinBoxing.com. And if you're the first one to email me the correct answer, you'll win the prize. We go by timestamps, so you must email me. If you post the answer somewhere else and it's correct, doesn't matter. You got to email me the correct answer, and that's the only way. So here's today's question. Which fighter was DQ'd in Which fighter was DQ'd in successive world title fights to the same opponent? Which fighter was DQ'd in successive world title fights to the same opponent? If you're the first one to email me the correct answer, Billy@TalkinBoxing, that's TalkinBoxing.com, you'll win your very own copy of the Title Bout Championship computer game. Hey, man, don't forget, you're not going to want to miss tomorrow's show. We'll give you an update on the Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder situation. We'll also give you breakdowns and predictions of all the big fights this weekend. So make sure you tune in tomorrow morning. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, I'll leave you with this. Ciao, baby.